Yours truly, DVP, reporting on Sunday, August 21st, 1983. This afternoon at Pittsburgh, the Reds and the Pirates will close out a 4-game series, and this will complete the first stop of a 2-city 7-game road trip for the Reds. The Reds move on to Chicago for a 3-game series starting tomorrow afternoon, and will close out play at Wrigley Field for the Reds this year. And this afternoon's ball game will finish off things for the Reds as far as play at Three Rivers Stadium is concerned here in the 1983 season. The Reds have gotten off to a good start on this 7-game road trip. 2 wins in the first 3 games, including a victory in my last game scored on Thursday, the 18th of August. That was a 6-5 come-from-behind Reds win over the Bucks. And the big blow was a game-winning pinch-hit 3-run double by Dwayne Walker to the fence in right center field as he picked up another key pinch hit, his 12th pinch hit of the season. The Reds made it 2 in a row over the Bucks in this series on Friday night and assured themselves of at least a split during this 4-game set. A 2-1 final on Friday night, August the 19th, a 7:35 start, and that was done behind the pitching of right-hander Mario Soto, who pitched a 5-hit complete game. As he goes the distance for the 14th time this season, that tops the team, that tops the league, and that tops the major leagues. That is also a new career high for Soto in complete games, eclipsing his previous high of 13 completions in the 1982 season. He also ties a career high in wins with his 14th of the year. That's second in the league, one behind Steve Rogers of the Expos. You got to believe right now as we enter the final few days of August that Soto is a legitimate candidate to win the 1983 Cy Young Award in the National League. He got a half a vote last year for that honor when he was 14-13 with a 279 earned run average, and he is going to better those marks considerably here in the 83 season. Still has an outside chance of becoming the first Reds 20-game winner since Jim Merritt in 1970. Just an amazing pitcher. Even when he's not on his game, he works out of the jams by using all of his pitches in the proper order, I guess. If he doesn't have a good changeup, he'll go more toward the fastball and the curveball. He'll work the corners. He has good location, and he's had great control this season. Is second in the league in strikeouts now with 187. Picked up 7 in that complete game win on Saturday, and the Reds just did get enough runs to win it for him. A game-winning base hit in the top of the 5th inning to right field by Davey Concepcion for his 7th game-winning RBI of the year produced the margin of difference, and Soto went from there, and he blanked the Pirates over the final 7 innings. There was a solo home run for the Bucks to tie the game up at 1-1 in the bottom of the 2nd inning off the bat of rookie outfielder Doug Frobel, his 3rd home run of the year and the 21st that Mario was allowed this season, but it turned out not to hurt him. He almost had his 2nd shutout against the Pirates this year. The last shutout pitched by a Reds pitcher was on May the 27th at Riverfront, a 9-0 Soto victory, and that was against the Pirates. And Soto this year has given up only 2 runs in 3 starts to Pittsburgh, and they've both been solo homers, one by Mike Easler, and now one by Frobel, who ironically is taking Easler's place out in left field because Easler has suffered an injury. The totals on August 19, the Reds had 2 runs, 7 hits without an error and left 7. The Pirates had a run on just 5 hits against the slants of Soto, considered by many to be the best right-hander or the best pitcher in the National League. 1 error for the Pirates and 5 men left on. Soto 14-9. I'll have a look at his line on Saturday. 9 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned on a home run. 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. His seasonal numbers look like this, and when I read these off, these have to be Cy Young caliber statistics, I guess you would say. He's going to be up there in the voting, no question about it, when that is done, I believe, in November, after the season is over. 14-9, so a new career high in complete games. It ties his mark in wins. He's won 28 games for the Reds against 22 losses, combining last year and this season, with 27 complete games and 4 shutouts. This season, he's completed 14 of 26, more than 50%. He's had 2 shutouts, and as I mentioned, that last one was against the Pirates. The other one was against the Phillies at Riverfront, a 2-0 final. He has now hurled 209 2/3 innings. That's 2nd or 3rd or 4th in the league. He's allowed just 158 hits and 70 runs. 10 of those are unearned. He has walked only 72 and has struck out 187 on the year with a 2.58 earned run average, and he lowered that 0.07 with the ball game on Saturday. Quite a pitcher there, and Mario Melvin Soto from the Dominican Republic. The losing pitcher for the Pirates was right-handed former Dodger Rick Rhoden. He dips under 500 at 9-10 now. 8 innings, 6 hits, and a couple of runs. Not bad. He walked 3, committed a balk, and struck out 7. That's the 5th balk that Rhoden has committed this season. So Rhoden is the loser. He's now 1 under. He's in double figures in the loss column. The game-winning RBI Concepcion in the 5th inning. That was the only RBI for the Reds. The other run was not knocked in. In fact, it was a double play grounder hit by Ronnie Oster in the top of the 2nd that got the Reds' first run in to give us a 1-0 lead. Pirates tied it in the 2nd. Reds won it in the 5th and coasted behind the great pitching of Soto as he gets his 14th victory. The final out, with runners at first and second base in that 9th inning, was on a strikeout swinging on a high heater, probably the best fastball he threw all night. That was against the rookie Frobel, who had hit the home run earlier in the game against him. He just overmatched the rookie and blew him away to end the contest in 2 hours and 33 minutes. The attendance was 15,995 at Three Rivers Stadium. Gary Reedus had a stolen base in that ball game for the Reds, his 32nd of the year to top the team. Interesting note on Soto's complete game total. His complete games total was now 14, the most by a Reds pitcher since 1973 when Jack Billingham had 16 complete games. And his 14 victories are the most by a Red since Tom Seaver in 1979 when he was 16-6. Actually, it's tied for the most, Soto tying his own mark of 14 in 1982. The most since Seaver in the championship, Western Division Championship winning season of 79, some 4 years back. And now let's flip the page and go to the ball game of Saturday night, August the 20th. The Reds had a mini 2-game win streak stopped as the Pirates shut us out behind a great pitching of right-hander Jose De Leon. We were reading out the superlatives for Mr. Soto when talking about the ball game on Friday. And, well, this guy, De Leon, was even more overpowering than Mario on Saturday night as he pitches a complete game 2-hit shutout, his first major league shutout. He gets his 4th major league win, and he almost had his 3rd no-hitter. Can you believe that? That's not to say he's pitched 2 no-hitters already. That is to say he's had 3 close calls and hasn't quite gotten there yet. In his first major league game, just a few weeks back, this was only his 7th start last night, he flirted with a no-hitter, went into the 9th, I think. 8 1/3 innings, finally Hubie Brooks broke it up, and it ended up a 1-0 Mets win, I believe, and De Leon got a no decision after going 9 innings. And then, in another ball game, against the Padres, I believe it was, he went 6 1/3 innings of no-hit ball before that was broken up, and last night he did it again. He went 6 2/3 innings of no-hit baseball, had walked just a couple in that period, and one of them was wiped off on a double play. Finally, the Reds got a base hit with 2 out in the top of the 7th inning. That was a line drive double to right center by Danny Dreesen, and there was another base hit in the 9th inning by Eddie Milner, a dribbler into center field for the only other base hit. De Leon settled with a complete game 2-hit shutout, and what a pitching performance by that young guy. And an earned run average which is almost invisible now because 9 innings, no runs, 2 hits. Last night he walked only 3 batters, and his strikeout total was quite impressive. In fact, the most impressive by any pitcher in the majors this season. 13 strikeouts. That is the most by any pitcher this year. And the old mark was 12 by 4 different pitchers. Or 3, I think, in the National League. 1 in the American League is fan 12. Jack Morris, that's high water mark in the American League. And in the National League, our very own Mario Soto has done it back on May 6th against the Mets in a no decision. And when he went 9 innings in an extra inning game. Also, Steve Carlton is fan 12, and also Atlee Hammaker has done it with those San Francisco Giants, has recently come off the disabled list. Now, De Leon tops everybody with 13 strikeouts in that ball game last night. He had a streak of 4 in a row at one time and had 5 consecutive strikeouts at one point, and that's halfway to the major league record of 10 straight strikeouts set by Tom Seaver against the Padres in 1970 when he was with the Mets. So quite an impressive performance by De Leon. Let's take a look at the totals last night. Pirates had 4 runs, 7 hits, no errors, left 8. The Reds, no runs, 2 hits, 2 errors, and 3 men left on. De Leon 4-2 with the win. First major league game against the Reds. And Bruce Bereni suffers the loss. Another tough outing for him. And I'm not sure if he's going to be wearing a Reds uniform next season, the way he's been pitching. And he has really been dragging the staff down, really. He just doesn't seem to pitch very well anymore. His earned run average was a lot more respectable than a mark over 4. Now, earlier in the season, he had some pretty good numbers, but now he's 7 under 500. It'll be another miserable record when this season ends for Mr. Bereni. Finished at 9-18 last year, but a lot of that wasn't due to his own pitching problems, although we had several of those, but there was a streak there where I think he was 0-3 with about a 2.5 ERA last season because we would not score runs for him. And, of course, we didn't get any for him last night either, but De Leon was just Superman on the mound last night. And Bereni didn't help his own calls by giving up 3 runs and 4 walks in 4 1/3 innings. However, he did just give up 2 hits and 1 earned run, and he struck out 2 batters. On the year now, he's been in 25 games with a 4.08 ERA, 3 complete games and 1 shutout, and he's now 6-13. He's given up 78 runs in 145 2/3 innings, 139 hits, and 6 homers. He has struck out 118, second on the staff, and he has walked a total of 80 hitters. That has hurt him probably more than anything else this season. He's won only a total of 15 games for the Reds, back through the last 1 2/3 seasons, going back to 1982. He won 9 in the 81 split season, could only match that last year, and I don't even know if he'll get that this season. The game time was 2 hours and 19 minutes last night, and the attendance, a huge crowd, second largest this season at Pittsburgh, 44,481. And they saw a dandy pitching performance by De Leon as the Pirates blanked the Reds 4-0. It's the 8th time the Reds have been shut out this season. So 4-4-4-8-1 on hand, and a lot of them were drawn in by the fireworks display that they had after the game, and they said that it's one of the biggest displays and one of the best displays of fireworks in the country. And also, that crowd, that large crowd, got to see a tribute to Johnny Bench before the game. They actually delayed the start by about 15 minutes so the fans could get in. And also, it was nice that they had the delay because they had a tribute to Johnny Bench. He was awarded with a Reds golf cart. It's a real nice-looking vehicle, too. It has the Reds symbol on the side, or on the front, and has number 5. Johnny Bench's number on the side of it. Of course, Bench loves to play golf, and he'll get a lot of use out of that after he retires after this season. So quite a gift given to Johnny Bench, and also a package of golf balls presented by the former Pirate, and who just retired last year, at the end of last year, Willie Stargell. And boy, that was some kind of a display. And Bench has now been honored, I think, in 3 or 4 cities, all in the Eastern Division. And I guess that one would top it all at Three Rivers Stadium. Quite a presentation to Johnny Bench on the field before last night's 4-0 Pirates victory. A game-winning RBI last night for Jason Thompson with a first-inning base hit to get an unearned run in, his 8th game-winning RBI of the season. And so the Reds have gone 2-1 in this series right now. Need a win to win this set, and hopefully we'll get it behind young right-hander Charlie Puleo this afternoon as the Reds wrap up this 4-game series. The Reds are looking for win number 57 of the year this afternoon. I want to pass along a few more pitching lines from last night's ball game. I mentioned Bereni for the first 4 1/3. One of his shorter outings of the year. He was followed by Billy Shear for 2/3. He got a man to hit into a double play, nothing across, and then Ted Power did a good job for 2 innings. He pitched the 6th and the 7th, gave up 2 hits, no runs, walked a batter, struck out a batter. Then Tommy Hume, who continues to struggle, his ERA goes up again, 1 inning, 3 hits and a run, and 1 base on balls. And so that brings us to this afternoon's contest on August the 21st. Reds at Pittsburgh, the final time the Reds will be in Pittsburgh here in the 83 season. They've already assured themselves of at least a split at Pittsburgh. They've now won 3 of the first 5 played at Three Rivers, a ballpark that the Reds normally play well in against those powerful Pirates. So Reds baseball coming up, so stay around.
Enter the bottom of the 9th inning, trailing by a pair to Cincinnati, 6-4 our score, and Chuck Cantor will go with Jimmy Morrison to pinch hit for pitcher Kent DeCalvi at the outset of now round number 9. He swings and drills one to left, and that's a hit. Ball almost bounced over Reedus' head. And now Lee Mazzilli is going to bat for Marvell Wynn. Morrison leading at first. The infield looking for the ground ball. Pitching Shears. Swung on ground ball shortstop. They got a shot. Foley, Oster, and Dreesen a double play. A big double play off the bat of Lee Mazzilli. Rookie shortstop Tom Foley really starting that double play to take some of the heat off of Bill Shearer here in the ninth inning. So Johnny Ray trying to keep the Bucks alive, and he fouls it back. They've got to nail Ray to end the ball game. And Johnny hits it in the air to left, and that should be it. Gary Rita's calling, and this one belongs to the Reds. In the ninth, no runs, a hit, nobody left on. The Reds rally late. They take 3 out of 4 against the Pirates in winning today 6-4. We'll be back in just a moment. Well, the Reds got on the board first this afternoon. They scored single runs in the second, third, and the fourth inning. In the second, after an inning-opening error by shortstop Dale Berra on the ground ball by Nick Osaski, Danny Billardello had a run-and-hit single to right, moving Osaski to third, and a base hit by Ron Oster to right field made it 1-0. A 2-out double to right field by Paul Householder in the third scored Johnny Bench. He had reached on a 2-out error by the left fielder Doug Frobel. Bench ending up at second base. And the third run came across in the fourth inning. With 1 out, Ronnie Oster doubled down the right field line. Charlie Puleo singled off the fence and left to make it 3-0. And Kelly Paris followed with a base on balls. At that point, Chuck Tanner lifted Larry McWilliams, bringing on right-hander Jim Bibby. He served up a base hit to Gary Ritas to left field to load him up. Then what could have been a critical play, thank goodness it did not turn out to be that way this afternoon. Dwayne Walker came up and lined one into the gap in right center. Dave Parker caught the ball. At third base, Charlie Puleo, rather than being on the bag to tag, had gone down the line. And by the time he got back to the bag, there was no chance at all to come in and score. And the inning ended without any further scoring when Bibby struck out Johnny Bench to leave the bases loaded. The Reds were out in front 3-0, but at that point, the Pirates started back. In the bottom of the fourth inning, with 2 outs and nobody on, Parker an infield single. He moved to second on the throwing error by Ron Oster, and then an infield hit off the bat of Doug Frobel, followed by a 2-run double to left field by Tony Pena, and the Pirates all of a sudden were down by only one. They came up with 2 runs to go out in front by 1 in the sixth inning. With 1 out, Jason Thompson drew a walk-off Puleo. Dave Parker had a base hit to right field, and Doug Frobel had a base hit into left center field to tie it up. A new pitcher, Ben Hayes, came on. He got Tony Pena on a fly ball to right, but then what would have been the inning-ending out turned out to be an error. A ground ball off the bat of Dale Berra, errored by shortstop Kelly Paris. That allowed Dave Parker to come on to score and make it 4-3 Pittsburgh. It stayed that way until the 8th inning. Cecilio Guante had entered the game in the 6th inning and had done a good job for 2, but with 1 out in the 8th, Ron Oster came up with a hit to center, his 3rd hit of the afternoon. After Danny Dreesen had flied to left, a base hit by pinch hitter Dave Concepcion into right center field, and then Gary Ritas stepped to the plate against newcomer Kent DeCalvi. The count went 3-2 before Ritas lined a hit up the middle to score Oster with the tying run. Then in what turned out to be the big play of the game and what turned out to be a controversial play, Dwayne Walker against DeCalvi hit one by the mound up the middle. Johnny Ray tried to backhand the ball. It got away from him into center field. 2 runs scored. The Reds went out in front 6-4. That's, of course, the way it finished up because Billy Shearer came on in the 7th inning. He allowed 2 hits and shut out the Pirates the rest of the way to get credit for the victory. It's interesting to note that just when we came out of that commercial break, Bob Prince, who does the cable games, a longtime Pirate broadcaster, stopped by the booth and offered up an apology for the official scorer here this afternoon, talking about what a terrible scoring decision it was on the ball hit by Walker. It should have been a 2-run single. In the eyes of the official score, it was an error, and Dwayne lost 2 RBIs and certainly what would have been the game-winning base hit of the game. Be that as it may, the Reds had 6 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors, left 10. The Pirates had 4 runs, 9 hits, 3 errors, and left 7. You had the 2 best defensive clubs in the National League going head-to-head today, but by the way this game was played, you would have never known it. Winning pitcher was Billy Shearer, 2-3, and the loser, Cecilio Guante, 2 wins and 1 loss. Final scoring from St. Louis, the Cardinals have stretched their winning streak to 5, and they have swept the Houston Astros with a 5-2 victory this afternoon. The Reds will be at Wrigley Field in Chicago tomorrow, first of a 3-game series. Final stop on the road trip. Frank Pastore, 6-11 for the Reds. Dickie Knowles, 4-7 for Chicago. We'll have the pregame shows tomorrow on most of these same stations, beginning at 1:50 tomorrow afternoon. Again, the final score today in a game that took 2 hours and 45 minutes to play before a crowd of 24,635. The Reds 6 and the Pirates 4.
Now, the Cincinnati Reds this afternoon played at Three Rivers Stadium for the final time here in 1983, and today's game finished off a fine series. for Cincinnati. The Reds take 3 of 4 in this series, and the Pirates were very hot coming into this set. They had won 5 in a row and had snuck up to within 1/2 of a game of the first-place Philadelphia Phils. And that is where they are right now because the Phillies also lost today, so the Pirates don't lose any ground. But the Reds win 3 of 4 from the Bucks, and the Reds finish up with a record of 4 wins and 2 losses at Three Rivers Stadium this season. And with this victory today, Russ Nixon's Reds are now assured of at least a split in this season's 12-game seasonal series versus Chuck Tanner's Pirates, as the Reds are now 2 over at 6-4 versus Pittsburgh this year, with still 2 to play at Riverfront Stadium come August 29th and the 30th. Through 4 games at Riverfront, the Reds have won 2 and lost 2. And that was a 4-game series played back in mid-May. This was my 4th game scored versus the Pirates this season. I did only 3 against the Bucks all of last year, and they were all Pittsburgh victories, I think all by 1 run, including 2 losses at Three Rivers. But this season, it's a very nice record against the Pirates. 3 wins and 1 loss, including 3 straight victories. 1-0 at Cincinnati and 2-1, my final record at Three Rivers here in '83. Those other games I did against the Pirates came back on May the 18th and May the 27th and also August the 18th, and my last game scored before this one, and that was the first game of this series. And like this afternoon, that was a come-from-behind Reds victory. The Reds getting 5 runs late, and 3 of them on a big pinch-hit double to the fence and right center by Dwayne Walker, who probably should have had a game-winning RBI today, as he did on Thursday night to open up this series. But you heard Marty Brennaman talking about a controversial scoring decision made by the Pittsburgh official scorer in that 3-run Reds 8th inning. He talked about how that hit by Dwayne Walker should have been a base hit instead of an error charged to the second baseman Johnny Ray, but in the eyes of the official scorer, he said that ball should have been fielded, although that was a very tough chance, and I think Walker got rooked in this ball game. By all rights, as Joe Nuxall pointed out, Walker should have been 1 for 2 with a sacrifice fly, 3 RBIs, and his second game winner in the series. He had his 3rd game-winning RBI of the year in that first game on Thursday with that big pinch hit double, his 12th pinch hit of the season. And the 12 pinch hits ties the high water mark back through the last few years for a Cincinnati Red ball player. Harry Spillman went 12 out of 41 as a pinch hitter for the Reds in 1980, and now Walker has 12 pinch hits already this season. And he was not up as a pinch hitter in this game, but did enter late, as Cesar Cedeno had to leave because of another one of his continual mild injuries. And so Walker came on, did a pretty good job, but all he has to show for it is an 0 for 3 with no runs batted in, instead of 1 for 2 with a sac fly and 3 RBIs and a game winner. That's what would have happened if everything had worked out all right. He had a line drive into right center in the 4th inning with a runner at third, Puleo, and Charlie, of course, as a pitcher, was not too aggressive on the bases. He ran down the line and then stopped, and he probably should have scored, and that would have been an RBI for Walker and no time up, and then that interesting scoring decision, if you want to say lousy scoring decision, I guess that would be appropriate in the 8th inning on that bouncing ball up the middle that got off the glove of Ray. It goes down as an error. It gets 2 runs in. He would have had an RBI if there had been only 1 out, but there were 2 out. And so they don't give him any RBI since it should have been the 3rd out of the inning. And boy, he got rooked all the way around this afternoon. Nothing for 3, but we'd like to give him a pat on the back for his job today. He really did the job, but still his average goes down. It would have gone up to 263 today, up a couple of points from game time if he had been 1 out of 2 on the day. But instead, nothing to show for it at all. And there was also a few other controversial scoring decisions today on a ball hit by Johnny Bench and also another ball hit in the hole that they ruled an error on the Red shortstop, I believe it was. And I might point out right now that I am doing this broadcast on a delayed basis because I wanted to get all the official statistics down and written in the books before I verbalized them here on the cassette, because I didn't want to say anything incorrect, because the official scorer does have the right to go back and change certain scoring plays if he so desires. If he goes back maybe after the game and looks at the films, almost every game's on TV anymore, so he might look at the films and say, well, that was a tough chance, I think I'll change that, but that was not the case. That was not the case today. Everything that Marty said on his scores and comments, all the totals, are official. The official scorer decided not to go back and change any of the plays. There were several ones that could have gone either way today, but they're going to stand as they were called as the ball game progressed. So Walker will stand 0 for 3, And we know that now because the official score can't go back and change it now because it's after 24 hours after the completion of the game. That's the time limit. He has to hand in an official box score to the National League office within 24 hours of the completion of the ball game. And that time has expired now, so I can safely say all these stats I'm going to read off are official. And it's really unfortunate for Dwayne Walker because he would have had his second game winner of the series. So I've done 4 games against the Pirates, 3 wins, 1 loss. And 3 wins in a row. The Reds winning 9-0 on May 27th behind Mario Soto in a complete game effort. That's the last shutout, by the way, thrown by a Reds pitcher. That was in my 13th game of the year. And back on May 18th, the Pirates beat us 2-1 at Three Rivers. That was in my 11th game. And then in my 30th game, Reds 6, Pirates 5. Exciting finish with the Reds scoring 5 times late in that game to come from behind and win it. And another come from behind win this afternoon. The Reds have done a fine job in 1-run games and also 2-run games and coming from behind late. This is reminiscent of the World Championship Series days for Cincinnati, when the Reds continually came back in their final 1 or 2 turns to the plate, and the Reds have been doing that nicely here in the second half of the season. The Reds are now 2 over in the second half at 23-21, and they're also 2 over against those Pirates, as I mentioned, short of a split in the series, even if the Reds lose both of the remaining games. 6-4 against the Pirates, and that means that the Reds are going to finish up, well, with, I think, at least 4 Eastern Division teams 500 or better. They've already finished against 3 Eastern Division teams, and they went 500 against the Phillies at 6-6, and they were 2 over against New York, and now they're going to be at least 500 against the Pirates, and they've already assured themselves of a split in the Cubs seasonal series. The Reds are going to go into Chicago to complete this 7-game 2-city road trip tomorrow afternoon, Monday and Tuesday, and also Wednesday, a 3-game series, then an off-day Thursday, and then the Reds come back home to Riverfront Stadium to start up a 7-game homestand against 3 different opponents, beginning on Friday night against the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. That's going to be an interesting homestand with the Cardinals coming in, and they've also got the San Diego Chicken coming in for a weeknight game on August 31st. And with Bob Howsam, who took over as general manager of the ball club on an interim basis on July the 11th when Dick Wagner was let go by the Williams brothers, and he has, well, lifted the restrictions on the Chicken's performance. And he is going to be allowed to go on the field and do everything that he has been able to do in almost any other ballpark around the major leagues. And he was in earlier in October of 1980, and he was not allowed to do much. He was just standing around on the top of the dugouts. He did go out on the field for a little while, but he's going to be allowed to do everything. The whole works, I guess you want to say, because Bob Howsam is, well, has lifted the restrictions, if you want to say, on the Chicken's performance. So the fans ought to get a fine look at the Chicken and his full act on August the 31st at Riverfront Stadium. And Marty and Joe will be bellowing with laughter, I'm sure, on that particular broadcast. And I'm not sure if I'll score that game, but I might, and we might get some of the cackling from up in the booth on that particular evening. I might want to mention also that Bob Howsam is no longer just the interim general manager. He is going to be permanent general manager, at least for the next year or 2. He says he doesn't really know how long he's going to be doing it, but it was announced recently, I think just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, that the word interim has been removed from the title of Bob Howsam. And that is really good news. He did such a fine job with the Reds from 1967 to February of 1978 when he relinquished control of the team, turned it over to Dick Wagner, and then Howsam assumed a role as vice chairman, and he was in semi-retirement up until taking control of the ball club again on July the 11th of this season. And already, well, you can tell really the difference in the ball club. I don't know if the record in the second half has anything to do with it, but it might have something to do with it. The players seem looser, and they're just playing some good ball, and maybe Howsam has something to do with that. Of course, they now have their red shoes. They got the red stripes on the shoes now, and of course the players were making such a big to-do about that earlier, and so now they're happy with their shoes. Maybe that has something to do with the way they're playing. They got happy feet now, so they're running around in those nice shoes. Okay, let's see. What's next on the agenda here? I want to take a look at my statistics, and then I'll get to some game action. Take a look at the lineups and all the averages, etc. This is my 31st game scored. I mentioned my 4th against the Pirates, and the record is now 1 over 500 with this victory. I'd like to stay over 500 the rest of the year if possible. I've got about 9 or 10 games to go in this 83 season, which has been a fairly good one to this point, much better than last year. Of course, the Reds are now only... oh, good golly, they're only a few wins away from the entire 82 total of victories. Let me see, this is the Reds' 57th win. That's only 4 less than they won all of 1982. So a drastic improvement, or a a much improved ball club from the 82 Cincinnati team. Record-wise, anyway, some of the other statistics really don't look too great. In fact, they were a little bit better than this last year in terms of team batting average and team earned run average, but you can't argue with the record that it is much better. And in fact, I think it's about 10 games better than last season at this time. And in my games, it's also much better, over 500 now. At this time last year, we were well under the 500 mark, and now it's a 16-win, 15-loss record for 31 games scored. That is a .516 winning percentage. For games on the road, the record is 10-9, and against the Eastern Division, an outstanding slate of 9-6. And after the All-Star game, 7-4, and so far I'm 3-2 in the month of August. This is lifetime game number 341. It's number 334 with the Reds. I've got a .587 winning percentage back through my first game in 1975, 196 wins and 138 losses. That's 58 games above 500. For games on cassette tape, 129 wins and 98 losses, and that figures to an outstanding .568 winning percentage, 31 games over 500 for 227 games going back through the 79 season. And so that's a look at my personal data right up to date through August the 21st, 1983. Reds finishing off a series against the Pirates this afternoon, and it's off to Chicago tomorrow, and the Reds have the makings now of a fine road trip. Now 3-1 through 4 games on the road trip, and so far on the excursion, we've got some pretty good statistics. A good 2.83 team earned run average on this trip for 35 innings, having allowed just 14 runs, 11 earned on 33 hits, and only 3 home runs given up. And a batting average of .220. Well, that's not too good, but still, we've gotten the job done, 3 wins and 4 tries. We're averaging 3.5 runs per game so far on the trips. We have scored 14 runs, 11 of those have been knocked in. The Reds have hit 2 home runs with 29 hits and 132 at-bats. The Reds pitchers have walked 10, only 10 walks in the last 4 games, 21 strikeouts, and the Reds have committed several errors. The defense has been a little bit shaky in this series. The Reds have committed 5 errors in the 4 games. That's more than 1 per game, and the Reds have turned 3 double plays on defense so far. The Reds have had 7 doubles and 1 triple. That's a look at some of the statistics for this road trip. And that includes just this 4-game series at Pittsburgh, a .283 earned run average and a .220 batting average. Overall, the Reds team batting average is .243. The Reds now have 1,002 base hits this season, a .361 slugging average with 1,491 total bases to this point. And let's take a look at the team pitching now. An ERA of 4.04. That's a lot higher than at this time last year. They brought it down 1 notch this afternoon. The Reds have given up 1,068 hits and 556 runs, exactly 500 earned runs and 1,113 innings pitched, with 729 strikeouts, 485 bases on balls, and the Reds have given up 101 home runs. That's quite a few more than the Reds have hit themselves. The Reds have swatted 84 out of the park, out of the various parks this season. That is 2 more than they hit all of last year. Gary Reedus sets the pace in homers with 14. The Reds have had 443 RBIs, of which Oster has collected 49. That tops the team. Oster first on the ball club and runs batted in. The Reds have had 26 complete games, and that is second in the National League. Of course, Soto has more than anybody else. He has over half the team total. He has 14 completions to top the majors. The Reds have had 3 shutouts, 22 saves, and the total amount of appearances is 340. 340 pitchers used this season. Leader there is Shearer, who I think is 4th in the league in appearances, getting into his 57th ball game of the year this afternoon. The Reds have the second best record in 1-run games in the National League at 23 wins, 15 losses. That's an outstanding .605 winning percentage. The Reds on the road are now 30-33, so just 3 under, what with being 2 over on this road trip so far. Against the Eastern Division, the Reds have done a good job at 31-28. And we're getting close to 500 against right-handed pitching at 46-48. The Reds have had their problems against the Southpaws this year, unlike a few years back when we demolished the left-handers. The Reds are 11-20 versus the lefties. And so far, 11-10 in the month of August. The Reds have won no fewer than 11 games each month. They won 11 in April, 11 in May, 11 in June. And they won 13 in July, finishing just one under. And now they're one over, trying for their second plus 500 month here in August. And now 23-21 in the second part of the year after the All-Star break. Also over 500 in daytime play at 20-19, and they're just 9 under now in artificially carpeted ballparks at 40-49. And so that's a look at some of the team data right up to date through August the 21st. I'll take a look at the umpires now, and then I'll get to the players used. We'll get into some of the preliminaries out of the way here before I get into the ballgame. Behind the plate today was the veteran Ed Vargo. Ed Vargo behind the plate, the crew chief. At first base was Joe West. At second base was Bob Davidson. And at third base, the other Davidson, Satch. The scheduled starting time today was 1:35 p.m. Now, that's what it's listed as in all my publications that I can find. It is a 1:35 scheduled start. However, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, they pushed it back 10 minutes. They rescheduled it for 1:45 p.m. Cincinnati time and also Pittsburgh time. It was underway at 1:49 p.m. to get technical. The weather today at Pittsburgh was, not bad at all. A little bit humid, but quite less humid than it was the last couple of days. They were really having problems with the bugs out there the other night. People were swatting them. And, in fact, they had to stop play for a few seconds. The umpires were having trouble with the insects, and also first baseman Johnny Bench was having problems keeping them away. Joe Nuxall up in the booth said they looked like fleas, and then they changed their mind and said they were gnats down there in the field. I don't think any of the players were bitten by fleas, but anyway, they did have a problem with the creatures on the field the other night, but not so today. It was fairly good weather, a high today of 88 degrees, quite a bit better than it has been in the Midwest, where Cincinnati has gotten up to 101 degrees, I think, the last couple of days. Low tonight in Pittsburgh is slated to go down to 74 degrees. And with the win today, the Reds have now won 3 of 4, 8 of 14, and 10 of their last 18 ball games. And Cincinnati has still lost 5 of its last 8 games. The Pirates have still won 6 of their last 9. As I mentioned, they had a 5-game winning streak entering Thursday, but the Reds have really handcuffed the Pittsburgh team. We got them when they were hot, and now they've cooled off. Pittsburgh has lost 3 of its last 4 ball games. And now it's time to take a look at the lineups here for the Cincinnati Reds to lead it off today, getting a start, which is sort of uncommon this season, Kelly Paris. And the former St. Louis Cardinal, and also a former switch hitter. He's batting just right-handed now. And Kelly Paris leads off at shortstop. He committed a costly error in this game, and well, it didn't cost us dearly because we end up winning the ball game. And if we had Davey Concepcion in there, I don't know if he would have aired that ball. A little easy ground ball right to him. He let it get by him. And on offense, he didn't have a base hit. He did walk a couple of times, though. Came into this game batting at .224. No homers, 6 RBIs. He's had 5 doubles this season. Batting second in left field is Gary Reedus, and the rookie hitting .243. And he's had 14 home runs this year and has knocked in 39. Hitting third in right field, Cesar Cedeno. A .236 batting average for Cesar, with 8 home runs and 37 knocked in. Hitting cleanup and playing first base is Johnny Bench. Bench hitting him at .254. And he's got 44 runs batted in. That's 6 more than he had all of last year. And he's hit 10 home runs, 3 away from last year's total. 387 lifetime home runs now for Mr. Johnny Bench, who was honored in a big way at Pittsburgh last evening. A fine presentation put on by the Pirates. And I think it's quite interesting to note that the Pirates put on such a big show for Johnny Bench, and probably the most elaborate, definitely the most elaborate of any ball club so far that has honored Johnny among some of the Eastern Division teams, such as the Phillies and the Expos and the New York Mets. I think it's interesting to note that because the Reds did not do a single thing toward honoring Willie Stargell, who, of course, retired at the end of last season, one of only, I think, 2 teams not to even mention it when the Pirates were in for the final time last July. I think one of the final games was when Russ Nixon took over July 21st. They didn't have any sort of a ceremony and didn't award him any kind of a gift at all. And I think it's quite a class act for the Pittsburgh Pirates to give Bench such an elaborate showing, and just was really quite touching on the field last night. Brought a lot of the people to their feet, some 44,400 plus, and I think that's interesting to note. The Reds didn't do a thing for Stargell, but Pirates did it up in a big way for Johnny Bench. Quite a class act last evening. So Johnny Bench in there. Let me see what his batting average is. 254 for JB. I already said that. Let's go down to the number 5 position. Paul Householder in center field. Householder's doing a pretty good job of late, having hit safely in 6 of his last 8 games entering this one. A 253 batting average, which has been on the rise. He's clubbed 4 home runs this year and has knocked in 23. Hitting 6th at third base is Nick Asaski, a 259 average for this slumping rookie third baseman. And we hope to get him back on the beam again. Boy, he sure was hot his first month. He had 7 homers in his first 29 games. Has only had 1 since then. His last homer came August 6th in part of a doubleheader at San Diego in the 9th inning. He crushed one that really didn't mean much. We were already out of that hopelessly. He does have 8 home runs in his rookie year, has knocked in 30 runs, has collected, 3 base hits, and he's had 7 doubles. So all in all, a pretty good rookie year for Asaski, but when you take a look at his first month as compared to the last month, he's been up just about 2 months now. And he was hitting close to 300, had about a 600 slugging average in his first month after being called up on the 17th of June from Indianapolis. He was having a fine year at Indy, hitting, I think, close to 280 with 37 RBIs already, and he had 14 homers in Indianapolis. So overall, he's hit 22 home runs this season. Hitting 7th is the rookie catcher Danny Bilardello, a 221 average for him. He's been fairly steady behind the plate and with the bat since going in there about every day. He's been the Reds' regular catcher this year, more or less. 4 out of every 5 days anyway. Trevino always catches Soto. Bilardello's hit safely in 10 out of his last 18. Entering this one, he's had 4 home runs, and he's knocked in 22. I don't think those are bad stats at all for a guy who's never played above Double-A before this year. Batting 8th at second base is Ronnie Oster, and Ronnie is starting to pick up again. A 269 average. He had a 3-hit day today, 2 singles and a 2-bagger. Coming into this game with a total of 48 runs batted in and 11 home runs. Those are new career highs in each of those departments for Ronnie Oster, who came up to the Reds for the first time in late 1978. Batting 9th is the pitcher, Charlie Puleo. Not much of a hitter, 3 hits, all singles, 1 RBI, and .086 batting average. And now for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll run them down quickly. Leading off is a rookie center fielder and a former Mets farmhand, Marvell Wynn, picked up on the 14th of June and has been installed out in that center field position just about every single day since he came from the Mets system. I don't think he played a game with the Mets, but has been a mainstay in center for Pittsburgh. They've not used Mazzilli or Lacey much out there. They were platooning those 2 guys earlier, I guess not happy with them. And now Wynn is out there doing a good job. He's had 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, and a 267 average. Entered this series, though, at 279. Had 1 hit today. Batting 2nd at second base is Johnny Ray, a fine second-year man. A switch hitter hitting 283 with 5 homers and 39 RBIs, another solid season. Hitting 3rd at third base, getting a rare start, Rich Hebner, a former Pirate himself. He used to be with the Phillies, spent some time with the Tigers, and now back with the Pirates. And he's batting 241, a couple of home runs, and 13 runs batted in. He's taking the place of Billy Madlock today, and that's the only change throughout this entire series that manager Chuck Tanner made in the batting order. He's gone with his exact same lineup, save Hebner at third base throughout the entire series. He has had Madlock, of course, batting 3rd at third base, who's the leading hitter in the National League, batting above 330. So Hebner gets the start today at 3rd, and batting 4th at first base is Jason Thompson, their big power hitter. 17 home runs with 1 on Thursday, 63 RBIs, and a 264 average for the left-handed swinger. Behind Thompson, batting 5th in right field, is another left-handed bat, Dave Parker, a Cincinnati native, and the mammoth 6'5" Parker batting 266. 7 homers and 44 runs batted in. Behind Dave Parker and batting in the number 6 position is a rookie, the left fielder Doug Frobel. And he's been out there throughout this entire series. He has taken the place of Mike Easler, who has been put on the 21-day disabled list by the Pirates because of ligament damage. And Frobel just recently recalled from AAA Hawaii. The Pirates have a new AAA team this season, being Honolulu, Hawaii, in the Pacific Coast League. And that takes the place of Portland, Oregon, their AAA club last year. And Portland is now affiliated with the Philadelphia Phils, the other Pennsylvania ball club. And Froebel batting .208 with 3 homers, 5 RBIs. He's been getting a lot of playing time rather than Lacey or Mazzilli because the Pirates face so much right-handed pitching. They don't face many left-handers at all. I think they faced only 2 left-handers all month. And so that's why they've been using this order so often. They've been going with the left-handed batters, and Froebel is another lefty swinger. Boy, almost all left-handed swingers. You've got Wynn, Ray, of course, who's a switch hitter, then Hebner left-handed, Thompson left-handed, Parker, Froebel. The only right-handed bats are down in the order, Pena and Bear, and then you've got McWilliams, who I think also bats left-handed, who of course is the pitcher. So Froebel followed by Tony Pena, one of the finest catchers in the league, developing into even a better one each day. 3 hits today. He's also got a good bat. He should be right around 300 right now. A 3-for-4 day today should push that 296 game time average up to that 300 magic plateau. 8 home runs. The latest coming into the series, 42 runs batted in. He belted a blast on Thursday night. He hacked at a high pitch. He kind of reminds you of Manny Sanguillen, the former Pirates catcher. Gets down in that dirt to catch. I remember Sanguillen doing that a few times. And they kind of remind you of each other, Sanguillen and Pena. And also free swinging. I guess that's been a trademark for the Pirates, the lumber company they used to call them. And free swinging ball club, going after the first pitch a lot of times, and sometimes a bad pitch. Pena wanted a bad pitch the other night on Thursday and belted one up into left center field for his 8th home run of the year. That was off of Jeff Russell. Batting 8th today is the shortstop Dale Berra. I think he started every single game for the Pirates this year, maybe every one but one. A .240 batting average. The TV said .239 game time average. I went with .240. 10 homers, 40 RBIs. Batting 9th is Larry McWilliams. In his first full year with the Pirates, obtained midway through last season from the Braves for Pascual Perez, and also a player to be named later in that deal. And turns out to be a good trade for both teams. McWilliams and Perez, 2 of the top pitchers in the league in various categories this season. Perez, I think, is 13-3 at this point. McWilliams enters this game 12-6 with a very decent .318 earned run average. His batting average is .136 without a home run. He's got 1 extra base hit, a double, and he's knocked in 4 runs. So that's a look at the batting orders for the respective teams, the visiting Reds and the homestanding Pirates. And that sets up the final game of this 4-game series at Three Rivers Stadium. And if the Reds had lost this game, they would have finished .500 at Pittsburgh, but instead we finished 2 over at 4-2, a fine record in a ballpark that the Reds had played very well in back through the last several seasons. Of course, these two clubs met in championship series play several times back in the 70s, and 70, and 72, and 75, and the latest time, 1979, when the Pirates swept us 3 in a row, including the final game at Three Rivers behind Bert Blyleven. And the Reds today, an exciting come-from-behind win, and a controversial game, I guess you would say, with the funny scoring plays. In the top of the first inning, the Reds leave a couple of men on base as McWilliams has some control problems here, which are uncommon for the 29-year-old southpaw, who has only, well, he's walked 70 batters in 181 innings entering this ball game. But he's got a very good ratio of walks to strikeouts. In fact, he's struck out twice as many as he has walked, and that is a very good sign. So he doesn't suffer through too many wild spells. In his ball games, he walked, 3 and 3 1/3 innings. This is one of his poor outings of the year, although he gave up just 1 earned run, a couple of unearned tallies. In the first inning, Kelly Paris had a fly ball to right, and Gary Reedus walked on a 3-2 pitch. Anytime you walk him, you're letting yourself in for trouble, the opposing pitcher is, because that guy can run. He's got a total of 33 stolen bases at this point, 32 entering the game. He did get 1 today, but not in this first inning. He's pushed up 1 out later to second base on a 4-pitch walk to Johnny Bench. That was after Cedeno had a fly ball to right, so we've got 2 on 2 out for Paul Householder, and House had a line drive right at the shortstop Berra. He happened to be standing right there, and we can't get the runs in. No runs, no hits, 2 men left on base. In the bottom half of the first inning, it's Charlie Puleo going after the Pirates, and he's looking for his 2nd career win against Pittsburgh. Won a game against him last year when he was wearing the Mets uniform. And he gives up a double to right center field to the first batter he faces, Marvell Wynn. That's his 11th double of the year. And, of course, they've all come in the last couple of months since he was obtained in the mid-June deal from the Mets for Junior Ortiz. Johnny Ray then moves him up to third base on a ground ball 4-3. So they've got a runner at third with less than 2 out, and they can't get him home. Richie Hebner hit a line drive right at first baseman bench near the line. Nobody advanced. And then Jason Thompson on a 3-2 pitch struck out Sweeney on a good curveball from Puleo. And that was the inning. Good job there by Charles. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left on. The Reds get the first run of the ballgame home in the top half of the second inning. On the very first pitch of the second, Nick Osaski reaches on an error by the shortstop at a ground ball to Berra. He coughed it up, a fairly easy chance, and that's the first of 5 errors committed in this ball game, both teams combined. Of course, this run is unearned because this man eventually scores. Osaski on a good hit-and-run play that works to perfection. Bellardello bounces a ground ball through the right side and into right field for a single, and Osaski makes it all the way around to third base. So the Reds are cooking in the second. Runners at the corners, nobody out for Ronnie Oster. Oster, the top run producer this season, a little bit surprising. But, well, we know he can drive in runs. He knocked in over 40 last year. I think 47 was his previous career high before this season. He adds another one to his RBI column as he drives in a run here in the second.
McWilliams checks him at first and third, and the 2-2 pitch coming. And a line drive base hit to right field. Bellardello, or Osaski, saunters in from third as Danny moves to second, and the Reds take a 1-0 lead. Opposite field hit to right, and Ryan picks up number 49.
So Oster once again comes through with a run-producing base hit. The 49th RBI of the year for Ronnie, so he's just 1 away now from the half-century mark. And keep in mind, last year's high water mark on the ball club was 57, and Oster should hit that with ease this season if he keeps up this pace. And so a base hit through the right side, and that's 3 straight base runners, and the error proves critical because it's an unearned run as the man who reached on the air, Osaski, scores the 1 run in this inning. So it's a 1-0 Reds lead with nobody out. Then Charlie Puleo, after trying to bunt a couple of times, bunted some foul, and then he swung away and hit into a double play. A 4-3 twin killing, a ground ball to the second baseman, Ray. He reached out and he tagged Ronnie Oster coming by. Then he threw on to first base, and they got Puleo easily for the 4-3 double play. And Bellardello moved on to third base. The inning then ended as Paris hit a ground ball to shortstop, 6-3. So 1 run on 2 hits against McWilliams, 1 error, and 1 runner is left on base. So Oster comes through in that number 8 hitting position, and I still think it's a little bit silly to bat him in that 8th position, but manager Nixon only does that when he's facing left-handed pitching, and McWilliams being a left-hander, that means Oster's batting right-handed. And against the left-handers, Oster batting just .226. That's entering this ballgame. That's going to go up considerably because he had 2 hits against McWilliams today, 2 out of 2 against left-handed pitching today. And that's a good sign for Ronnie. He's got 1 of his 11 home runs as a right-handed batter, and he's shown excellent power, especially to left center field when he's been batting left-handed. A lot of his 11 home runs have gone that way to the opposite field when he has been up there against right-handers. So I guess that is the reasoning. Nixon batting Oster 8th, and every time this happens, I think, shake my head and say, why in the world is your top run producer down there? That's just exactly where you want him to be, isn't it? In the number 8 position to drive in, all those people ahead of him who, rarely get base hits. Well, Bellardello just .224. Osaski's been slumping badly. I would think Oster would bat never less than or lower than 6. That's what I would do anyway. I don't care if you're facing a left-hander or not. Your top run producer should be up there in the order, but it works out okay today. And we won't do too much more raking on that in this broadcast. So Oster gets the run in, and now let's go to the bottom half of the second inning leading. There's a 2-out single to right center in this frame against Puleo, hit by Tony Pena. That doesn't prove to be costly because Berra lifts an easy fly ball to left fielder Reedus to end this inning. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. The inning opened with a Dave Parker first pitch foul pop to the third baseman Osaski. Froebel then flied out to left field, then a single, then another fly ball. In the top of the third, the Reds get another run, and again are aided by an error. This is another unearned tally. This should have been a 1-2-3 inning. This was a controversial scoring decision, and I was waiting around to see if this might be changed. There was a fly ball hit deep to left center by Johnny Bench with 2 out and none on in this third inning. The rookie left fielder Froebel positioned himself fairly well, and he was at the right place to catch the ball out on the warning track in left center, and the ball just seemed to go right through him. The ball went right through his glove, it looked like, and it fell to the ground, and Bench ended up at second base standing up with what appeared to be at the time possibly a double, which would have been his 16th of the year. And, well, it turns out to be an error, and I thought he might have lost the ball in the sun, and that's one of the reasons I waited around to do this broadcast. I wanted to get the official version on this, because sometimes the scorer will actually go down and ask him. He'll say, did you lose the ball in the sun? And he If he says yes, then really it's an uncontrollable situation, and normally in that situation, the fielder will not be charged with an error. The batter will give the benefit of the doubt, will get it, and he'll get a double on that play. But apparently not. He either didn't ask him or he flat didn't lose it in the sun. It was a sunny day at Pittsburgh, so that's going to stay as a two-base error on Doug Frobel. Let's listen into this third inning action.
McWilliams delivers, and Bench swings and hits it well into left center field, and that might be Frobel to the fence, and he can't get to it. It bounces off the fence. Bench into second, standing with a we'll wait and see. Looked like Frobel was there and looking at the fence and apparently lost the ball, and they're going to charge an error to Doug Frobel. Well, that's a tough one.
So that opens the gate for Cincinnati here in the third inning as the Reds tally a run off of McWilliams here, aided immeasurably by the two-base error on Doug Frobel. And as Joe said, it looked like he was there, he was in position, and the ball just seemed to go right through him, and I think it was a good scoring decision because he was there. He probably should have caught the ball, that is, if the ball did not get in his, if the sun did not get in his eyes, and apparently that did not happen because it is an error on the rookie left fielder. That came after back-to-back strikeouts. McWilliams was starting to get it together, had retired 4 in a row as he got Ritas on a strikeout swinging, and then a called third strike by Cedeno, and then the big two-base error on the warning track committed by Frobel. Then on a 3-2 pitch, Paul Householder gets the Reds their second run.
The stretch and the payoff. That swung on and lined fair down the right field line. Bench will score. On his way to second is Householder. Parker waiting on the ball in foul territory, and ball into second with a double as Bench scores to make it a 2-0 ball game. And Householder just reached out and punched that one down the right field line, but a big hit, another run, and we'll pause for station identification.
And while they pause for station ID, I'll continue with the recap of the ball game. They were just about to go to a station identification there after that big double by Paul Householder. And as Joe said, he just reached out and slapped it. He was batting right-handed here. He, like Oster, a switch hitter. And he's batting right-handed, and he had that bullet that was right at the shortstop in the first inning. If that had gotten through, that had been an RBI for him. And here he does get an RBI on a double down the right field line off of a 3-2 pitch. I'll get it out in a minute. A two-bagger for Householder. Let me see how many that gives him now. He's had a lot of doubles lately. He had 2, in fact, today. That's his 11th two-base hit of the season. That gives him his 24th run batted in. And that is an unearned run, and everything else after this would have been 2, but Osaski goes down swinging, something that Osaski's want to do in every single ball game. That strike out a couple of times, and he is really having a hard time at the plate of late. We could see him be set down by manager Nixon in the next few days, maybe to just give him a little bit of a breather there and try to get his composure back in his swing, and maybe he needs to work off the batting tee or something, because he's striking out way too much, especially in the last week or two. So he strikes out the side here, McWilliams does, and in between gives up an unearned run on 1 hit. There was 1 error, 1 man left on base. In the bottom half of the third inning, 2-0 Reds lead. Charlie Puleo does a good job here, gets him in order for the first time. Got pitcher McWilliams on a strikeout swinging. Then on a check swing by Marvell Wynn off of a 3-2 pitch, he hit a bullet right back through the middle, and Puleo reached out and stabbed it above his head. A nice catch for the out. Otherwise, that's into center for his second straight hit. Then Johnny Ray hit a ground ball back to the pitcher. So a put out and an assist for Puleo in the inning. Nothing across. Now we move to the top half of the fourth inning. The Reds get 1 more run, and they make it 3 straight innings in which they had tallied at least 1 run against the starter McWilliams. And this turns out to be the first earned run and the only earned run given up by the Pittsburgh starter. In the second, third, and fourth innings, the Reds had 6 base hits and 3 runs, and there were a couple of errors in there for the Pirates, and 5 men were left on base in all. The Reds had left 7 men on base through 4 innings. They had 3 runs, 4 hits, and left only 3 on in the final 5 trips to the plate against the starter and relievers used by Chuck Tanner. With 1 out here in the fourth inning, the Reds get back-to-back base hits. There's a 2-base hit, and then a run-producing hit by the pitcher, Charlie Puleo. Let's listen to these fourth-inning developments.
Oster lines this one down the right field line. That's extra bases. Dave Parker playing it down in the corner. He's up with it. Oster in the second, and he'll hold right there with a double for Ron, his 16th of the year. He's 2 for 2. 2-1 delivery. Charlie swings and hits it well to left field, going back. Frobel looking up, and it's off the wall. That'll score Oster easily, and Puleo has to hold at first with a long single. I think Charlie might have had ideas of his first Major League home run. The ball hit about halfway up the wall in left field. Charlie picks up his second RBI of the year, and it's a 3-0 ball game. And activity in the Pirate bullpen as Big Jim Bibby will start throwing.
Well, it looked for an instant as that ball came off the bat that might be the second home run by a Reds pitcher here this season. Frank Pastore had his second Major League home run in a ball game at San Diego earlier this month. He went all the way in that ball game also. And Pelayo helping himself here. He bounced into that double play that possibly cost us a run in the second inning after he could not lay down the sacrifice bunt. And here he rifles one off the fence in straightaway left field. No chance for the left fielder, Froebel, to flag it down. He did play it nicely off the fence. He got it back in, and Pelayo was held to a single. That's his fourth hit of the year, and he was looking for his first extra base hit. Could not get it. He does get an RBI, his second RBI of the season. That gets Osterholm from second base, who had doubled with one out down the right field line. Again, he went the other way against McWilliams. He singled to right to get a run in the second. Now doubles to right field for his 16th two-bagger of the year, breaking him out of a tie with Johnny Bench for third on the team in RBIs behind the club leaders and co-leaders, Milner and Concepcion, who have both had 20 two-base hits this season. Oster now with 16 doubles. He's also had 4 triples to go with the 11 home runs and a pretty good slugging average for Ronnie. And it goes up today with a 3-for-4 day and 4 total bases in 5 at-bats, or 4 at-bats. So that's a 1,000 slugging average, if you will, for this ball game. So a double to right and then a single to left field. That was with one out. Bill Ardello opened up the inning with a fly ball to left. With one in, a runner at first and one down, Kelly Paris walked on a 3-2 pitch. And that base on balls forced out McWilliams. Tanner brought in big right-hander Jim Bibby, appearing in a game for the first time in a couple of weeks. He's not had a very good year. He's got an ERA, which is a sky-high, 7.28, only 3 wins, a couple of saves to his credit. He last appeared in a game against the Montreal Expos at Pittsburgh on August the 7th, 2 Sundays back. And here he's in to face the number 2 batter, Gary Reedus, and he has a single to left field off of a 3-2 pitch. And let's see, that loads the bases up. That was a hard line drive single to left. They held the pitcher Pelayo at third. Now here comes a big play. Cedeno's out of the game. He was removed because of a leg injury, and Walker has come on. He's not a pinch hitter here. He had been in earlier in right field. He hits a line drive to right center that is caught by the right fielder Parker. Now the pitcher, who's on third base, Pelayo, should have tagged up on this ball and scored. He definitely had time to get in there. Parker cranked toward the plate. Of course, he does have a cannon for a right arm, but still I don't think they would have gotten him, even though the pitcher was running. But instead, Pelayo saunters down the line and is kind of looking around, and by the time he gets back to the bag, there's no chance to tag up. The ball is in the glove of the first baseman, Thompson, who had cut it off, and so the bases are still loaded. So that is one RBI that Walker is cheated out of, if you will, although it's not the official scorer's fault here. It's Pelayo's fault on this one. It should have been a sac fly, and Walker would have had his 25th ribby of the season and his first at-bat in this ball game. Instead, it's an 0-for-1 as a line drive to right, bases loaded, 2 out for Bench, and he goes down swinging on 3 straight pitches. And it would have been nice if that had been a home run, wouldn't it? This is Bench's final game at Pittsburgh, his final game in this ballpark. What a way it would have been to go out with a grand slam home run. He's had 11 career grand slams. George Foster has tied him, by the way. Foster has hit, I think he's hit another one after that. He might have 12 now. All right, I think he's got 11. He's hit 2 this season to give him 11 to tie him with Dave Kingman and Johnny Bench. And last season it would have tied Willie Stargell also at 11 career slams, but it ties Bench and Kingman for the most among active National League players. Major League leader is Joe Rudy of the A's with 12 grand slams, but Bench can't connect here. He goes down swinging on an outside pitch from Bibby on an 0-2 delivery, and that's the inning. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors, and 3 runners are left on base there in the 4th inning. So bad base running play by Pelayo cost us a run, but in the long run it comes out all right. The Reds' lead is clipped to 1. A 3-0 lead is sliced to 3-2 as the Bucks score a pair in their half of the 4th inning. They get 3 hits here off of Pelayo, who has retired 4 straight batters. He's set down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He has set down 9 of the last 10 and 9 of 11 in the ball game through 3 innings. In the 4th inning, he gets the first 2, and that makes it a string of 6 straight outs. You got Hebner swinging on 3 pitches, a strikeout. Thompson then fly to center, but then Parker had an infield base hit to second base, a high bouncer. Oster fielded the ball barehanded and threw it wildly well to the home plate side of first baseman Danny Dreesen, or Johnny Bench, I should say. And the ball went into the dugout, and that entitles Parker to second base, so it's a hit and an error on Oster on that ball. Then Doug Froebel comes up with an infield single to the shortstop, deep in the hole. The shortstop Paris made the play, coughed it up. They gave him a base hit. Parker moved to third base. And then they both come around to score on a double to left field by Tony Pena, and that gets 2 runs home. Parker scores from third, and Froebel scores all the way from first base, and they give Pena 2 RBIs on this ball. And there's really no way that should have been scored that way. This is another in a series of seemingly terrible scoring decisions by the official score at Pittsburgh this afternoon. Just was not consistent at all. Well, I guess he was consistently horrible in scoring. Now, there is no way that Froebel was going to score all the way from first base on that ball. He was aided by the bobbling of the ball by the left fielder, Gary Reedus. There should have been an error on Reedus on this play, and this would have made it an unearned run. But instead, well, they're all earned runs. The error really didn't mean anything. They all would have come around on this double anyway. But if an error had been scored here, Froebel's run would have been unearned. But they give him 2 RBIs, and for Pena, that gives him now a total of 44 runs batted in on the season. But on the replay on TV, they showed it, and you could distinctly see that the third base coach was holding him up, and also Froebel was in the process of stopping. But then he picked up again on the speed, and he got in there easily because Reedus was having trouble picking up the baseball, but they gave him 2 RBIs for some reason. And again, they were being a little bit critical up there in the booth, and rightly so. I think this is probably the worst one of the day, this scoring decision. There's no way he was going to score without that bobbling. But officially now, there is no error. The Reds would have made 3 errors if this had been charged. And Reedus has made a few this season. He made 3 in 1 week in one period back in May or June. And here he has trouble picking it up, but they gave him a gift run batted in, so... And this also makes the team ERA a little bit higher. This would have been unearned because the next batter struck out swinging Dale Berra for the third out. So it's a double, 2 RBIs for Pena. 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 error. No unearned runs in the inning. 1 runner left on base. So it's a 3-2 game now, tightening up after 4. In the top of the 5th inning, it's against Jim Bibby here in his first full inning. He's impressive here. In the 5th, he does a good job in his stint of 1 2/3. He gets Householder swinging, a strikeout. Then Nick Osaski was called out on strikes, 3 straight pitches. That's 3 straight strikeouts for Bibby. Then Bill Ardello flied to left for the second straight inning, nothing across. Halfway through, it's a 1-run game, Reds leading. In the bottom half of the 5th inning, against Charlie Palaio. Had a very good outing in this one, but he got a no decision. There's a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 5th as Bibby's lifted for catcher outfielder Brian Harper. He was picked up a few years ago in the Tim Foley deal from the California Angels. First time I've ever had an opportunity to score this guy. Brian Harper is a pinch hitter here. He grounds out 6-3. Then Wynn hit a ground ball weakly to second. Or I should say sharply to second, as I recollect. A 4-3 grounder. And then Ray tapped one back to the mound for the second time. So nothing across again. Palaio retires him in order for the second time in the ball game. So it's still a 3-2 Reds lead going to the top half of the 6th inning. And the Reds side is struck out again here. This is the second time a pitcher has struck out the Reds side, but they're not 1-2-3. There was a 2-out walk here to Kelly Paris off of a 3-2 pitch. This is off of a new pitcher. It's a rookie right-hander, Cecilio Guante, the third pitcher used by Tanner. He got Oster on a check swing, strike 3, went too far. Then Palaio went down swinging. He walked Paris, but then completed the inning with a strikeout swinging of Gary Reedus. No runs, no hits, and 1 man left on. Now the Pirates take the lead in the bottom half of the 6th inning. They get 2 runs here, and this is the ouster of Mr. Palaio. Hebner leads off with a line drive speared in right field by Dwayne Walker. And then Jason Thompson draws a base on balls, and on the very next pitch, Dave Parker had a single to right field, first and second now for Doug Froebel, and Froebel fouled off several pitches, really hung in there with Palaio, and finally Froebel wins the battle on a 3-2 pitch, lines a single to left field the opposite way. That gets 1 run in, and that makes it a tie baseball game at 3-3, as Thompson scores, and moving to second is Parker. That's it for Palaio. In comes right-hander Ben Hayes on the very first pitch he threw. Pena hit a fly ball to right field, and this is a key point because it's deep enough to get Parker to third. The big guy lumbers in there to third base, just did make it ahead of the throw sliding. And that's a key point because if he had not gotten to third base, this go-ahead run would not have scored. The next batter up, it's a ground ball to shortstop, Dale Berra. The shortstop, Paris, came in and fielded the ball one-handed. The ball got by him. It got under his glove and trickled behind him for an E6. He was upset, and it was a very easy play, so that's an error all the way. No way they can give him a base hit on that. Of course, no RBI. Parker scores, and a very big play for him to go to third base on the fly ball to right by Pena. And this is an unearned run here. This should have been the third out of the inning. Instead, the inning continues for the pitcher, Guante, sent up there to bat for himself. He flies out to fairly deep left center field, caught by the center fielder, Householder. So they get 2 runs, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 error, and a couple of men left on base. So Palaio's day is done after 5 1/3 innings. Ben Hayes comes on, and he is taken down. There's a double switch made as Hayes faces only 3 batters. He is charged with no runs. Danny Dreesen comes on to play first base and bat 9th in the next inning, and they put the pitcher, Shear, in the number 6 position. They move Bench from first to third. Several changes made in this game. Concepcion comes in to play third base later in this game. One of, I think, 2 or 3 times that has happened this year. Davey over there at third, he made a nice play later in the game. So in the 6th, they get 2 runs, take the lead 4-3 over Cincinnati, and in the 7th inning, we are facing Guante here, and he gives up a 2-out double to right field by Paul Householder. And this time he pulls it. He's up there batting left-handed here. That was after Walker hit a fly ball to left, and Johnny Bench hit a first pitch ground ball to shortstop. Walker comes up with his second, or make that Householder his second double of the game, his 12th of the season, but he is stranded at second as Nick Osaski on the first pitch hit a fly ball to left fielder Frobel. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. In the bottom half of the 7th inning against Billy Shear, who did a fine job in relief and was the star of the game today, Marvell Wynn was called out on strikes. Johnny Ray a fly ball to right field, and that is a new right fielder, Paul Householder, who's moved over from center. I believe it's that inning. And he moved over to right field. That could be the next inning. And let's see, we had several center fielders today. Well, 2. Eddie Milner's out there, but he's not in the game yet. So, well, let me see here. It's still Walker in the ball game. Excuse me, that's Walker making the catch off the bat of Ray. Then on a 3-2 pitch, Hebner walked and stole second base. So he's still got a little bit of speed in him. The veteran Hebner, who's been around for decades, is around in the championship series days for the Pirates back in 1970, I remember, playing at Riverfront in the 70 playoffs. And he steals a base here with 2 down. That's his 6th steal of the year. He is stranded as Thompson hits a ground ball to second base. No runs, no hits, and 1 man left on. And now we go to the big top half of the 8th inning. The Reds tally 3 times here, and they overtake the Pirates. It's 4-3 Bucks going to this top of the 8th. And to start off the inning, it's Guante facing a pinch hitter for Bill Ardello, Eddie Milner. He hits a fly ball to right field on the second pitch to him. And Milner's still done a good job as a pinch hitter with that 0-for-1. He's now batting .400 at 2 out of 5, plus 1 walk in pinch hitting roles. Ronnie Oster then follows with a single to center field. And that is the 1,000th base hit for the Reds this season. That single by Ronnie Oster. Then Danny Dreesen, who's in the game now at first base, batting 9th. He hits a fly ball to left field. 2 down now with only 1 on. And all this action takes place with just a runner at first base and 2 outs. So again, big clutch 2-out base hits. I think Walker's game winner on Thursday was a 2-out clutch hit. And again, the Reds doing a good job late inning, 2-out scoring. That's nice to see. Then there's another pinch hitter, Concepcion, batting for Paris. He has a single to right center field, and that moves a runner to second base, Oster. And there's a change of pitchers. In comes right-hander Kent Tekulve, the best the Pirates have in that bullpen. They used 4 pitchers today. Tekulve following Guante's 2 2/3 inning stint. Tekulve making his 60th appearance of the year, 2nd in the league, I believe, as the leader is Bill Campbell. I think he's got into the 65 games, Bill Campbell of the Cubs, whom the Reds might face in the next 3-game series to start tomorrow. And the Reds have really done a pretty good job against Tekulve at certain times this year. It's either hot or cold, I guess. Tekulve's either really good or really bad. Picked up 3 saves in 3 days. And then he lost a game on Thursday. Lost that game Thursday, his first loss since the 28th of June. And now he gives up some clutch hits to the Reds here in this 8th inning. So the pinch single by Concepcion was a big one to continue the inning and knock out Guante. And for Davey, by the way, that's his first pinch hit of the year. He hasn't been used many times as a pinch hitter. Of course, he's the starting shortstop and now the team captain of the ball club. Named team captain July 15th by manager Russ Nixon. Davey now 1 out of 3 in 3 pinch hit plate appearances, one of which has resulted in a double play. Ground ball back to the pitcher, I believe. And so the Gary Reedus comes up. He has a base hit to get a run in. That ties the game. That was off of a 3-2 pitch into center field. And then he stole a base. He's off and moving. That's his 33rd steal of the year. He's only been thrown out 10 times. That leads the ball club. And then Dwayne Walker to the plate, and he hit that controversial ground ball. Probably should have been a single. It scored an error on Johnny Ray, bouncing ball up the middle into center field. But, well, however you score it, it still gets 2 runs home, and that gives the Reds a big 3-run inning and a 6-4 advantage at this point. So Walker gets no RBIs there. He would have had... probably should have had a couple. It would have given him 26 on the season if he had had 2 there. For Reedus, that RBI is his 40th of the year to tie the game up at 4-4. Johnny Bench ends the inning with a ground ball that went 6-4. They force out Walker at second to end the inning. We get 3 runs on 3 base hits. There are a couple of unearned runs in the inning because of the 1 error and 1 runner left on base. This is Marty Brennaman's inning, the 8th. Let's listen to how the Reds go ahead to stay.
So the runners will get the early break. Oster toward third. Concepcion toward second. 3-2 with 2 men out. Here's a payoff pitch, and it's lined into center field, a base hit. Oster scores to tie it up, and Davey comes on to third. Gary Reedus gets a big hit for his club as he got the ball up in the air and dropped a single into center, and the Reds have drawn even at 4. Runners at first and third. Runner at first goes. The pitch is taken. Pena quick throwing to third. He tried to decoy Concepcion, and Davey goes flat on his stomach, getting back to the bag. Credit Reedus with his 33rd stolen base. 2 balls, no strikes. Pitch. And that's grounded up the middle, and it's going to be off the glove of Johnny Ray into center field. 2 more runs are going to score. Cincinnati leads at 6-4. So Walker strikes another big blow for his ball club, and that's got to be a base hit. Johnny Bench will bat. That has got to be a base hit. And the fact that they're waiting so long to try and determine whether it is or not might be a bad omen. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. They have scored an error on Johnny Ray, and there is no way. The 1-0 pitch to Bench. John swings and he misses. Sometimes it borders on being unbelievable how bad the official scoring can be in some of these leagues. They legislate everything else in this game. There ought to be some form of uniformity in the role of official scoring. 2 balls and a strike on Bench.
You know, I wish Marty Brennaman would just come right out and say what he thinks about a thing like this. I think you can tell by Marty's comments that he wasn't too pleased with the scoring decision by the Pirates' official score on this particular play, and I wasn't too thrilled with it either, although I will say that was definitely a playable ground ball. He got his glove on it, but it was a tough chance, and I think if this ball game had been played at Riverfront Stadium, the Reds' official scorer, Glenn Sample, would have put down a single right there and 2 RBIs, and an eventual game-winning RBI right there for Dwayne Walker. But as it is, he gets cheated out of it because of some inconsistent and terrible scoring on the part of the Pirates' official scorer. And it will stay an error and a 2-run error on Johnny Ray. And that's the way it's going to stay. As terrible as it is, it will be an error. No RBIs for Walker. But still, we do get the runs in, and the important thing is we win the game. But still, you'd like to see Walk up there with a couple more RBIs. Should have had 3 today, really. Then Johnny Bench, a 6-4 grounder to end the inning. 3 runs, 3 hits, 1 left, and 1 error. In the bottom half of the 8th inning, Shear does a fine job. He gets everybody except 3 batters. He retired everybody he faced except 3 in the ball game. He gave up a runner in the 7th, a runner in the 8th, and a runner in the 9th inning. In the 8th inning, there was a 2-out infield hit to second base by Tony Pena, but Berra hit a line drive to the left of the new third baseman Concepcion. Davey speared it down on his knees, a good catch. Parker opened the inning with a ground ball, a strikeout Sweeney, and then pinch hitter Lee Lacy batting for Frobel hit a ground ball to shortstop. So no runs, 1 hit, 1 left. In the top of the 9th inning against Tekulve, On the first pitch, Householder tapped back to the pitcher. Billy Shear up for himself at a ground ball to second. He's now 1 for 10 on the year. And then Eddie Milner, the center fielder, on the first pitch, a ground ball to first base. Nothing across there. And in the bottom of the ninth inning, Shear gives up a leadoff pinch hit single to left field off the bat of Jimmy Morrison, the former Philly and White Sox ball player, a reserve infielder for these Pirates in his first full year with the Bucks. And on the very first pitch, a single to left. And then a double play grounder hit by pinch hitter Lee Mazzilli. He's batting for Wynn, a ground ball to shortstop. It goes 6-4-3 for the Reds' 96th double play this season, and a big one. It comes in the ninth inning, and the tying run at the plate in Mazzilli. And then Johnny Ray hit a game-ending fly ball to the left fielder. Reedus was there, he squeezed it, and this one belongs to the Reds. No runs, a hit, nobody left on in the Pirates' ninth inning, and the Reds win it by the score of 6-4. And now the final statistics for this game. Cincinnati using 17 players in its 125th game of the year. The Reds are now 11 under at 57-68, a .456 winning percentage. Still in last place, but very close now to the fifth-place Giants. The Reds are 17 1/2 games back in the Western Division. The shortstop was Kelly Paris. He led off in the ball game today. He was over 2 walks and 1 error. Also batting first, pinch hitter, third baseman Dave Concepcion, 1 for 1. He scored once. Batting second, left fielder Gary Reedus, 2 for 4. He scored 1, knocked in 1. Hitting third and right field, Cesar Cedeno, nothing for 2. Also batting third, right fielder Dwayne Walker. He ends up 0 for 3 on the day, no RBIs. And also Alan Nicely, late entry catcher, batting third, nothing across. Hitting fourth at first base and later at third base, Johnny Bench, 0 for 4. He touched the plate 1 time. Also batting fourth, another late entry, Tom Foley, shortstop, nothing across. Paul Householder batting fifth, center fielder and right fielder, 2 for 5, 2 doubles and RBI. Batting sixth at third base, Nick Osaski. He was 0 for 4 and scored once, and also Billy Shear pitched batting sixth, 0 for 1. Batting seventh, catcher Dan Billardello and pinch hitter center fielder Eddie Milner. The former was 1 for 3, the latter was 0 for 2, and batting eighth at second base, a good day for Ronnie Oster. 3 out of 4, scored twice, knocked in 1 error. Batting ninth, Charlie Puleo, pitcher, 1 for 3 on RBI. Ben Hayes, pitcher, no at bat. Dan Dreesen, first base, 0 for 1. The Reds went 10 for 39 today with 6 runs, 4 runs batted in, and 2 errors. Some pitching lines now for the Reds hurlers. Charlie Puleo, a no decision. He went 5 1/3 innings. Allowed 7 hits and 4 runs, 3 of them earned. No home runs, 1 walk and 4 strikeouts. Ben Hayes, 2/3 of an inning. And Billy Shear, who gets the victory, 3 innings of shutout relief. 2 hits, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. For the Pirates, 16 players used in their 121st game of the year. They have a .521 winning percentage now and are still only 1/2 of a game and back of the Phillies in the Eastern Division. 63-58 now for the Bucks, 5 games over. Number 36, Marvell Wynn, center field, 1 for 4. Number 11, Lee Mazzilli, pinch hitter, 0 for 1. Number 3, Johnny Ray, second base, 0 for 5 with an error. Number 10, Richie Hebner, third base, 0 for 3. Number 30, Jason Thompson, first base, 0 for 3 with a run. Number 39, Dave Parker, right field, 2 for 4, scored twice. Number 51, Doug Frobel, left field, 2 for 3, scored once, knocked in 1, and committed 1 error. Number 17, Lee Lacey, pinch hitter, left fielder, 0 for 1. Number 6, Tony Pena, catcher, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs. Number 4, Dale Barra, shortstop, 0 for 4 with an error. Number 49, Larry McWilliams, pitcher, 0 for 1. Number 26, Jim Bibby, pitcher, no at bat. Number 12, Brian Harper, pinch hitter, 0 for 1. Number 47, Cecilio Guante, pitcher, 0 for 1. Number 27, Kent DeColvey, pitcher, no at bat. Number 2, Jim Morrison, pinch hitter, 1 for 1. Those are their players, batting positions 1 through 9. They went 9 for 36 in today's game, 3 RBIs, 4 runs scored, 3 errors. They used 4 pitchers today, 1 more than the Reds. Larry McWilliams, a no decision. He went 3 1/3 innings, allowed 5 hits, no home runs, 3 runs, 1 of which was earned. He walked 3 and struck out a like number. Jim Bibby, 1 2/3 innings, no runs, a hit, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Cecilio Guante, the loser. He's 0-1 lifetime against the Reds, 2-1 this year. 2 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, no homers. Kent DeColvey, 1 1/3 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, none earned, no walks or strikeouts. And the line on the starter, McWilliams, for the season, in 27 starts, he has 5 complete games. 3 of those are shutouts and has committed 4 balks on the year, a .317 earned run average for 184 1/3 innings. He's given up 161 hits, 73 walks, and 149 strikeouts. He's 1-0 against the Reds this season in 2 starts with a .289 earned run average. He won against us at Cincinnati on May 29th, an 8-5 final, going 6 innings, giving up 5 hits and 2 earned runs. Manny Sarmiento came on to get his first save. Last season against the Reds, he was 1-0 in 3 games with a .432 ERA. His last appearance before today was on August the 12th at Montreal. He won a 6-3 decision, giving up 5 hits and 2 runs with a walk and a strikeout in 5 1/3 innings. Lifetime against the Reds, 5 wins, 4 losses. Charlie Puleo, lifetime versus the Mets. or make that lifetime versus the Pirates. 1-2, including 1-1 while he was with the Mets last year. 0-1 this season in 2 starts with a 7.15 ERA against the Pirates for 11 1/3 innings. He lost a 6-4 decision to the Bucks at Cincinnati on May the 26th, going 6 innings, giving up 6 hits and a like number of runs. And Charlie Puleo on the year has a 4.78 ERA with a 4-9 record for 21 games, 15 home runs, 111 innings, 112 hits, 65 runs, 72 walks, 63 strikeouts. Billy Shear has now been in 57 ball games, 70 2/3 innings, a 3.06 ERA. He's now 2-3 on the year. This was his first win since May the 20th. Ben Hayes in 50 ball games, 6.12 ERA, 3-2 record, 57 1/3 innings. He has 5 saves to his credit. And some stats for the Pirates relievers utilized today. Jim Bibby, 3-10 by way of a record with 2 saves and 24 outings with a 7.11 earned run average. Cecilio Guante, now 2-1 with 6 saves and 28 relief outings with a 2.91 earned run average. And Kent DeColvey, he's 6-3 in 60 relief outings with 15 saves, has only allowed 1 home run in 73 innings, and he has a sparkling 1.73 earned run average. Now a compiled summary of the statistics. Reds winning it. There were doubles by Householder, Oster, Wynn, and Pena. House had 2. No triples, no homers. Game-winning RBI, none. Stolen bases, Reedus and Hebner. Double plays, 1 apiece. Winning pitcher, Shearer, 2-3. Loser, Guante, 2-1. His first loss. 6 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for the Reds. They left 10. The Pirates had 4, 9, and 3, and they left 7. Errors by Oster, Berra, Frobel, Ray, and Paris. The time was 2 hours, 45 minutes. The paid and total crowd, 24,635. In attendance at Three Rivers Stadium. That's too bad Charlie Puleo could not have picked up the victory this afternoon. He did give up 7 hits, though, in 5 1/3. Not really a good outing for him. He threw 98 pitches today in 5 1/3 innings. He has lost 4 consecutive decisions, last winning a ball game 1 month ago today against the New York Mets. Billy Shear's done a good job in his last 7 games, going 1-0 with no saves and an 0.90 ERA for 10 innings, allowing 6 hits and a run with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. The Reds' top average hitter is Dan Dreesen. I want to mention that. He entered this day at 293. He leaves the park at 292, tops the team in the average department. And so there you have my speedy version of the final statistics for this ball game and some season stats. And now we take a look at the scoreboard through August the 21st. A look at the divisional leaders in the National League. It's Philadelphia and Atlanta topping the divisions, East and West respectively. In the American League, we've got a virtual tie in the East between Baltimore and Milwaukee. And in the West, it's the White Sox running away with things right now. They've got an 8-game bulge over the second-place Kansas City Royals. So the Chicago White Sox on top by a comfortable margin. They've won 68 times. We'll have a look now at the final scores from today's action, full slate of games. In the American League, the Yankees clipped the Angels 2-1, Kansas City 8, Baltimore 3. The Blue Jays got past the Boston Red Sox 7-3. The Mariners over the Cleveland Indians 7-2. The Twins edged the Detroit Tigers 4-3. It was Milwaukee beating up on the Oakland A's 7-1, and the White Sox defeated the Texas Rangers 3-1. In the National League, besides the Reds' win over the Pirates, it was the Braves in a slugfest at Chicago, beating the Cubs 11-9. The Cardinals 5, the Astros 2, the Expos and Padres played a doubleheader. Montreal won the first game 3-0. The Pods the nightcap 5-2. The Dodgers, behind Rick Honeycutt's first National League win, shut out the Phillies 6-0. And it was the Mets over the San Francisco Giants by a final score of 4-3. And again, the final from Three Rivers Stadium today as the Reds and Bucks closed out a 4-game series. The Reds win 3 of the 4 ball games, a 2-hour, 45-minute game this afternoon in front of a crowd of 24,635. Reds 6 and the Pirates 4. Until next time, so long.